So welcome to dissolving pain in nature's flow. And part of my practice as I come on and share this hour presence practice is this is the practice that I go to. This is my daily practice and the practice that I go to in times of trouble. So I can tell you right now, I just got off a phone call. I had my heart racing on top of some serious news, and everything's okay. We're working the process, but that's just where I am. And what I know from this practice is that whatever my state, and we will get into dissolving pain, but I just always feel like the key to the practice, and for me, the key for sharing anything, is to start where I am, and for each of us to start where we are. And so what I know from this practice is that whatever the state, physiological, physical, emotional, perhaps even existential state that one may be in, that the key for how this practice works, how does it work on us? Is that we don't actually try to shift our experience. That the practice is not about trying to shift a state or shift a feeling or shift an experience or even shift a perception, which is something we've talked about quite a bit over these last sessions. The view is that before we begin to practice, we are a flow of nature with these qualities. And just for ease of giving a handle on these qualities of presence, Master Wancho Park talks about 3 ways that things are together. And even that word together. Because how often when we're in one of those states that we might want to get out of, there's a sense of a lack of togetherness and that feeling of togetherness that we can have in our experience. But if we just say, oh, together, feel together, well, what is that? And so we practice, and this is the 30 minutes of the first part of the practice, which is not really a practice. It's time spent recognizing, appreciating, feeling that things are contactfully, mutually, tangibly even, but there's this interaction, interbeing of togetherness, even at the level of action, reaction, and forces, which we tend to feel when we, lay our hands down on our lap or our seat on the ground. And it's not stuck together. It's free. Everything is so very finely. When we get even to the flow of messages in our system, signals in our system, awareness, what finer flow than that? Beyond what we can imagine. All these fine flows within flows that give that inner infinite freedom of nothing stuck. So things are together, but they're not stuck together. And yet they integrate into this wholeness that has its own integrity, that unfolds all together. So this togetherness is connected and free and whole. And, I, for one, would like in this moment to feel a little more connected, a little more free, a little more whole. And yet I can, quote unquote, practice that from a sense that I really already am. And all my experiences in this moment are already free, mutually together in their whole unfolding in each moment. So like one way to kind of think about what we're doing as we're dissolving pain is almost like, yeah, the pain is here, or the unpleasant sensation, the emotion, even the storyline, the thought, whatever it might be, it's there. And that also there is the Tao of things together, so that we are not excluding, the sensation that we're maybe wanting to get rid of or shift or change. We're not excluding that at all. But it's like, well, how about we include what we can feel as the flow of nature? And then as we practice, it's like, well, wait a second. It's not, there's the sensation and then there's these qualities, and they're both included somehow, but separate from each other. Gradually it begins to feel how the very experience itself, the very experience itself that we want to change is already comprised of these qualities, constituted by these qualities. To me, that's like a kind of grace. A sense of grace given, not through my effort to try and make myself feel different than I am right now, but the grace given that those qualities are the way it is already. And especially when we're working with pain, being able to feel that there is grace that is not up to us, that we can receive. Can be such a saving grace. So one way we can even relate to all the many things that we've, talked about in terms of shifting our perspective, shifting our perception, where, sometimes we use the technique of feeling the space, the length between two things to shift out of that narrow focus that can only take up so much. And so we won't really be able to feel the fullness of the qualities if we're stuck in that mode of perception. And so we use that, feel the space between your fingers. We've used that sense of, the separation between the observer and the observed. Like I'm here and I'm looking down at maybe my pain in my stomach. And I'm the one with my pain. I'm perceiving my pain. And we've talked about the possibility of the greater flexibility of where we put our identity, where we kind of have that sense of observing from, that we can actually dive into the midst of, like, the thick of that sensation and feel it from the inside out without that separation, an immersive sense of awareness. And then finally, we talked about what it's like to perceive our pain when we feel even that identity, the subject of the pain. Like it's I'm the one in pain, and we feel that smeared out in time. And then ways that we can actually, in a way, use the qualities of presence, the mutualness of togetherness, the fine free flow of it, the integrity of that unfolding wholeness, to be like, there's nothing else. There's nothing else that ever can or ever could have an effect or be affected by other than this eternally, always now, the togetherness of all that is now. Kind of sloughing off the burdens of the past and the future as though they're poke outside of the present moment. I should even just say the now, because past, present, future, those storylines of our pain, what I felt in the past, what I'm feeling at the present, what I will feel into the future, that entire storyline is enveloped and held always in the now. And we do things like we feel our seat, we feel our fingers, we feel our breath. We feel spaces, we feel our pain. We dive into our pain. And all of those prompts and all of those guidances are all just simply in support, little nudges to encourage that we can perceive in different ways and that we can allow ourselves to perceive, experience, be nourished by, even feel that our most difficult sensation itself is comprised of these qualities. And it's not all rainbows and unicorns when that happens, and yet the relief can be immense because it's not only up to us. It's something so much more beyond us, beyond any technique, beyond any prompt. It's nature's flow. And so for today's session, as a kind of integration, we'll be going, of course, into the foundations. And then I'll be offering in our adventure time at the second half of the practice some ways that we can, in a way, almost guide ourselves. Like, you got the toolkit. You have the view. You have these shifts in our perception. You have these gateways and access points for it. And like, run with it and find what truly works for you in any given moment, because it will be different in any given moment. Day by day, learning how we can meet ourselves right where we are. So we'll begin. And I'm just going to take a little stretch. Welcome to join me as we get settled in. And as always, can find what works for you in the practice. Find what works for you in the practice, sitting, lying down. And beginning to feel the breath. Feeling the releasing sense on the out-breath. That helps everything settle. From that sense of a little bit of maybe propping up, a little bit of bracing, even just letting the shoulders settle onto the torso. And feel that togetherness, shoulders and torso, the immediacy, contactfulness, the tangibility of connection right there. And then letting that travel down the arms. So that the weight of the arms feels settled. All the way to the back of the hands. All the way to the back of the hands, and let the hands and fingers really feel how they have nothing they have to do, nothing to hold up. And maybe on the next out breath, see if they can just be and settle a little bit more fully. And then allowing all of our weight, all of our body, from the shoulders, the arms, down the spine, to all settle. To all settle into support. And feeling the immediacy of felt sensation, seat and ground or back body and ground. Being with togetherness. Being with our body and the earth in their interaction that is always going on whether we feel it or not. Whether we're braced or propping ourselves up or not. It's always the earth, 100% meeting the force of our weight with the force of its support. Always. Not up to us. Maybe seeing what it's like to rest not only into the ground, but to rest into that not up to usness. To something that's beyond our effort or our not effort, and even beyond our perception or not perception of it. It just goes on as the flow of nature that we are a part of as we sit here, as we lie here. Sometimes with together or contact, we think this and that are together. And almost always this and that are labels, concepts, body and earth. So part of dissolving into nature's flow is to dissolve past our usual labels. They're fine, they can be there. But to let a further felt sense of what's actually happening, to emerge by us not covering it over. We often do this at the nose, feeling the free flow of air coming in, free flow of air going out. And an opening to what's the finest flow we can feel in this nanosecond of the breath. In this tiniest puff of air. Sometimes can be helpful to do the alternate nostril noticing pattern, and even just take it nostril by nostril. Space inside our nose being felt through these subtle sensations of air. So fine, so free. And when we allow the free flow quality to reveal itself, there can be this burgeoning, this enriching, this release. Since we're no longer relating to our experience as just this or that braced together in a clunky way. Can happen with the breath, sensations, as though they're intensifying. Can happen with any sensation. Sometimes even feeling the free flow in one area brings forth waves of feeling in another area. And that's a kind of shift in our experience that we don't have to resist. Sometimes this dissolving pain in nature's flow is not linear. It actually can bring a sense of waves and spreading and shifting and moving. We don't have to expect what will happen. We just prime ourselves to allow what seemed stuck to express its freedom. That's always there. And letting the gentle noticing at the nose begin to fade. And on the in breath, beginning to extend it so that it comes all the way down inside us. All the way down inside us. And then on the out breath, we allow ourselves to again feel that subtle release of the out breath. In breath, free flow comes all the way down inside us. Out breath, gentle cascade of the chest. Downward. This can feel nice where we're tracing downward on the in breath, tracing downward on the out breath. In a way, coaxing ourselves, inviting ourselves with each in breath and each out breath more into the presence of our whole body. Come down into the body. And in that cascading wave of the front body, noticing that just like water, it's all mutually connected, like a water wave. We see the connection. Maybe we can feel it. And the connection is so fine that between any 2 points along our front body, there's practically infinitely many points all in between. And this may be something that we feel even more finely when we turn to the fingers. So now on the out breath, we go into the finger by finger, breath by breath. We've done it so many times. We breathe out and feel to the tip of our thumb on the out breath, slightly elongating, feeling that ripple of the length. And then to the pointer finger, ripple along the pointer finger to its very tip. To its middle finger. Like this invitation to all the fine and mutual flows along the length of each finger to awaken and feel and be felt for what they are. Going through several rounds, lighting up the fingers from within. Their felt sense of presence, of being. Even what lets us know that we have a finger, and where it begins and where it ends in space, in this moment. And perhaps on the next round, allowing that sense of these sensations letting us know we have fingers to be felt in their 3D-ness, their volume. Almost like the out-breath is filling each finger like a balloon. Filling each finger with such a fine sense of 3D presence that is to every single tip, every ridge, every place, every point. Fullness of fingers, just as they are, just in the space that they're in, just in this moment. And then letting the finger by finger breath practice fade. And we have, in a way, finished up the rounds of the foundation that can help us access these qualities of presence and the immediacy and felt experience of them. And now how about feeling some space between? There's a chance that you feel your fingers illuminated one by one. And there's also a chance, like we've talked about, that you might be working pretty hard with a flashlight to try and feel the finger we're focusing on more, with a more narrow and effortful attention. And feeling the space between helps us shift. Because even for the space between our thumb and our pointer finger. We'll only be able to feel both thumb and pointer fingers simultaneously if we focus in a way on neither. This narrow focus can only ping pong back and forth between the two, like a scan. What would it be like to, in this moment, feel into the absence of finger, the space that lies between the two fingertips? And if one would like confirmation that you are feeling that space, can make it smaller or wider. And then just let it be. And feel like you can rest. Rest in the space felt between your fingers. And now beginning to include the middle finger. Actually, scrap that. We're not going to include the middle finger. Let's include the space between our pointer finger and our middle finger. What's the space, the absence of finger? That felt experience that we have of the space in between pointer and middle finger. And taking all those spaces between middle and pointer, pointer and thumb, and making those spaces on both hands a little bit smaller, a little bit wider. And let yourself bask in the feeling of the space between. Like the space between is highlighting, since it is, the edges of our fingers, perhaps more vibrantly than when we think conceptually, finger, cartoon type finger, mental picture and memory of finger, but with space between. And artists have found this out long ago, why they sometimes draw the negative space instead of the object, the space around an object. Our concepts get less in the way when we're feeling space. And then the contours, the edges, the current moment being of finger in space is illuminated by that contrast. All effortlessly and simultaneously. And now slightly spreading all the fingers on both hands. And daring to enjoy the space between all the fingers on both hands. And can gently pulse that space a couple of times to feel into it, all the way down into the crevices of the fingers. Every nook and cranny highlighted by our feeling of space between. And then let the hands rest. Let them settle if a little bit of tension crept into the hands. And if we set aside like the label of hands for a moment, what's your experience of that bit of space and that bit of being in this moment? Because by starting with our sensitive hands, this can become, in a way, maybe we'll just say it's like, that's something I can feel that I don't maybe usually feel. But if I can feel it there in my fingers just by feeling the space between my fingers, maybe I can feel it in other parts of my body and experience as well. It cracks open the door. And then we can let the rest of us follow through. So becoming now aware of where your pain is in your body in this moment. Where is it? Where is it in space? So even see, where is it? The closer to the front body, the back body, the side body. Where is it? Is it tall and slender or wide and dull? What's its volume in space? And as we begin to feel into this presence in our body of this pain, this sensation, I'll just call it the sensation. One of the things that is very helpful is to have a wide and full and open context, a spacious context that pain is a part of. So sometimes feeling the space of your body, you might feel like just plenty of space for that context. Sometimes you might want to include the space of the whole room that you're in. And that's what we'll do today, but giving you the options. And sometimes, especially if the pain is really intense, might even include the space of the entire universe. We're just opening in that direction anyway. So starting with the part of your pain that's closest to the front body, and then feeling how the space inside your body is continuous with a space around your body in front. And having a sense of that space all the way to whatever wall or ceiling. I'm just going to call it all walls. Whatever wall that your front body is facing. And see if there's like a ping pong between, I have a sense of the wall, sense of the front body, and then what would it be like to drop into it, like feeling the space between your fingers. The space is just there. And now beginning to feel the space between the right side of your body and the right side of the room. One distance, length of space to the right side of you. And feeling how that is continuous with the space coming into your body until it touches the rightmost side of the sensation itself. And now imagining what it would be like to feel on the left side, all that you're feeling on the right side, all at once. The space, the distance, the one length between the left wall, the left side of your body, and the left side of your pain sensation. And even feeling the sense of space between both sides of the room at once. That includes the space between both sides of your body at once. That includes the space between both sides of your pain at once. Like these concentric context of spaciousness, all surrounding and permeating the sensation in your body all at once. And just noticing if the sensation feels inclined to begin to move, even expand like it's dissolving along that spaciousness. We've at least given it that option. And what would it be like to just feel like you're bathing in the 3D space of the room, all around you, all cradling and enveloping your body, and how it heightens the sense of contrast of inside and outside your body. And at the same time, it is all one space. The space of the room is permeating the space of your body. And how even the space inside the sensation is permeated by the space inside your body, as well as being permeated by the space inside the room. It's all one spaciousness. One spaciousness that any sensation can feel free to dissolve into. And seeing what it would be like to put yourself, you can take your time with this if you want to float down, or just boom, you are centered inside the very middle of the sensation. That's permeated by the space of the body, by the space in the room, and you feel from the inside immersed in these concentric rings of spaciousness all at once. And while we're there, here, in the midst of the sensation and its spaciousness, what would it be like to feel the free flow so finely that it's like you can even feel the spaces in between, the tiniest little parts and particles of that experience. The spaces in between that, parts and particles, is part of the same whole space. Everything fully bathed in space, in flow, in the fullness of allowing the sensation to be. And to reveal itself as nature's flow. Closer than close, finer than fine, wholer than whole. The grace, the grace that is already given, and how nature is, and how we are a part of it. We are, and everything in our experience is this presence. Just as it is. And what is it like to feel what we feel, to experience what we experience, to be what we be? That includes all of experience. That includes the fullness of that experience comprised, being nature's flow. And this completes an hour presence for dissolving pain in nature's flow. And a few moments, a few minutes perhaps here of, sometimes I say just being, not practicing or not practicing, not trying to manage our experience in any particular way. And that's some of the hardest of what we can do in a way. But maybe here, just letting ourselves coast. Letting ourselves be. And thank you for practicing, for adventuring, for living this here with me today. And as some of you may have noticed, I had to take a call in the midst of the practice, in the midst of the session. And my apologies to those live who had their practice disrupted. And this is life. And so I'm here just committed to sharing what I have found so helpful right in the midst of when I can use some help. So with that, an extra heartfelt thanks for adventuring together with me today. And there will be one more session, at least for now, on this. And then enough of this pain stuff. We're going to have some playtime, which actually is probably the most helpful things we can do for more feeling pain. In nature's flow. Play with it. Play with perception. Play with practice itself instead of being so heavy-handed with it. But before that, I am looking forward to offering one session that evokes some of the nuances of emotional hurt in real time, inspired by the green Lataif in the diamond approach, which we talked about the other day. Compassion, feeling the tenderness underneath the hurt so we don't shut down our hearts.